Took the Brightline train from Boca to Orlando to cover the U.S. Olympic Marathon Trials, to interview a few athletes, thought leaders, drop into some shakeout runs, footwear activations, and overall experience the vibe. Shout out to Brightline for getting me around Florida. It's super fast, really nice, and they even have amazing sandwiches for lunch and snacks. I highly recommend. In Orlando, Matt B, running influencer and YouTuber, picked me up. Got there as event organizers were setting up the tents and all of the gates around the area. The running vibe was high. You could feel the calm before the amazing race. By now, you probably know the U.S. Olympic team for the marathon is Fiona O'Keefe and Dakota Lindworm from Puma, Emily Sisson from New Balance. On the men's side, Connor Mans from Nike and Clayton Young from ASICS. This was day one for me at the U.S. Olympic Marathon Trials week-long activation, and it was a beautiful evening in Orlando. Took a walk around Lake Eola and then headed over to my beautiful, incredible Airbnb. The Airbnb I stayed in was beautiful. It was overlooking the lake, which I was seeing from my room, all of the event organizers putting the course together, which was really cool. And it was just a really nice Airbnb. So I got to enjoy my one night in Orlando. First stop of day one was heading over to the launch of the Hoka Flylab. Here, previewing the Hoka Cielo X1, checking out the Flylab, and gearing up to interview Becca Bro. She is Hoka's Director of Product for Performance Footwear. Check it out. It's pretty cool, right? Such a fun vibe in here, full of innovation, creativity, and really awesome looking shoes. The Cielo X1 is a race shoe for sure, whether you're doing a 5K, a 10K, or a marathon. Day two, took the Hoka Cielo X1s for a test run, 3 miles around Lake Eola. It was really nice. They had a lot of bounce. I really enjoyed them. Got to see some wildlife, some black swans, some white swans, and other birds, which I was told not to go near. Overall, it was a beautiful run, and while you don't see a lot of runners today, there were a lot of runners earlier in the morning when I got here. It was just short of a mile, so I ran around this lake 3 times. As I was leaving, got to see more Hoka activations, parked my car outside the Grand Bohemian Hotel, and heading up to Tracksmith to interview Matt Taylor, Louis Serafini, an athlete that was competing in the trials, and Nick Willis. Tracksmith had a suite at the Olympic trials where they were providing massages, nutrition, gear, all kinds of things for the 80 athletes they had competing in the trials. Tune into this full conversation with Matt on YouTube or the podcast. These were the bags they were giving to their athletes to prepare in advance for the trials. Listen to the convo with Nick Willis on the podcast or on YouTube as well. These were the beautiful kits the athletes were wearing. And tune into my convo with Louis Serafini, Global Community Director of Tracksmith and Olympic Trials runner. In signature Tracksmith style, they had a really cool sweatshirt for the event. So far, day 2 was going great. Got my run in, got to see a little nature, kinds of fun things. Did another walk around of the area to watch everyone setting up for the big U.S. Olympic Marathon Trials. Later that day, I headed over to the Brooks Hyperion House. They had all kinds of fun activations and programming throughout the day, throughout the week. I got to catch some drinks, snacks, cocktails, got to check out the new Brooks Hyperion Elite and the Hyperion Max in some new colors. I got here a little early, so they were still setting up, but later that evening, it was packed. They even had an area and a lounge for the media and all of their athletes and friends that were running in the Olympic trials that weekend. I got to catch a panel moderated by Kara Goucher with Jess Linden and Brooks athletes. Then I even got to sync up with Kara Goucher for a few minutes after. Matt B, YouTube running influencer, met me at the Brooks Hyperion House, and then later we went back to the train where he dropped me off, and I headed back on the Brightline to Boca. Spent some more time with my parents, and then back to New York City on JetBlue for me.